you have to take your photographs in so the sixth tip I would like to give you, right. Welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to talk about tips on being an artist, or the top tips to be a better artist. So anyways, let's get right into it. Right, so numero uno. The first tip I would like to talk about is drawing. So I believe that as an artist, everyone should be able to draw. Like, it doesn't matter if you can draw as realistic as possible, as accurate as possible, but the overall thing that every artist should be is to just be able to draw and to recreate what you want, what you're thinking up here, what your ideas are, what you've sketched. You should be able to recreate that on your final piece. Don't you agree? If it is you're drawing anatomy, if it is you're drawing flowers, if you're drawing landscapes, it could be literally whatever. I just think you should be able to draw. And when I say draw, it doesn't have to be by freehand, obviously. There are so many ways of transferring drawings from up here to or wherever to paper or whatever surface you're using. So there's things like tracing paper. There is like projectors where you could project onto your canvas, onto your paper, and you could basically trace it as well. There's so much ways. The second tip I would like to share with you all is using your medium. So what I mean by that is that, okay, you're an artist. An artist varies in all different media. So you can be a watercolor artist, you can be an acrylic artist, you can be an oil painter, you could do designing, you can do interior designing, you could do sculpting. Don't matter what it is, what your craft is, you have that media. Even though you're a painter, you could use watercolor and acrylic. But what I want to get into is using that media. So you're an artist and you're using watercolor. Obviously, you're not going to be using watercolor on a canvas, a stretch canvas. No. What you should do as an artist is use the appropriate media for the appropriate surface, for the right surface, you know. So if you're doing a painting on a wall, research and get your ideas and figure out what goes on that wall. Don't be like, okay, I'm a watercolor artist, but I'm going to use it like acrylic. No, watercolor is made for using water, and you have to dilute it to get the different hues and strengths, so you'd know how opaque and how transparent it will be. Obviously, watercolor dries like what, 2 shades lighter. So you're not gonna take watercolor and use it like impasto. Like, does that make sense? No. If it's oils, obviously you're gonna have to dilute it with like linseed oil or some kind of solvent, right? You're not gonna use water with oils. That it just wouldn't work, you know? So use it especially on the different surfaces that you're going to use it on. The third tip I would like to share with you all is using color. If you're painting a piece and you know that you're painting like the human body, or you're painting a landscape and these things, don't use full black. Like, mix your black with colors. If you're doing a landscape piece and you say there's a bunch of shadows and stuff, mix that black with a bit of color that's already in the piece. So let's say if you're doing greenery and there's a bunch of like flowers and plants and trees around, and there's like a really dark area, maybe you'd want to mix that black with a bit of green or a bit of like purple to give it a shadowy effect. Like, don't use full black, because when you step away from your painting or your piece and you look at that, you'd see a very flat area that's just black, and for some reason it doesn't look well. Also, adding on using color, I would say off canvas, mix your colors before you put it on the page or on whatever surface you're using it on. Come off your canvas, get like your palette, whatever you're mixing your colors on, mix it there first, get the right color, and then apply it, a right color and amount, don't even have to be amount, and then put it onto your page. So the fourth tip I want to give to you is using and exploring different media. If you're traditional artist and you're accustomed to one way, why not explore? Why not? I'm not saying there's nothing wrong in using one media for one piece. Then there's also nothing wrong in exploring and using different media to complement your piece. If you're doing an acrylic painting and you want to get like, do a tree bark, and it's so hard to do a tree bark, why not use mixed media? Why not explore different options? Why not? So one thing we learned is you can use tissue paper or just normal paper, like tissue paper. You can wet it and put it on, put some glue on it, and you know when you crumple it up how it gets, and when it's wet and then it dries and it becomes hard. So, and it gives you that texture, that crumply kind of texture that's hard, and then you could paint on it and you use less color, but you're not using as much color as you would use, much paint as you would use if you're doing it fully flat to give you that texture. Like if you do it without the paper, that's fine, that's up to you, you know, that's amazing. But if you're looking to explore and use mixed media, that'll be very helpful. Like if you're using watercolor as another example, and you have areas that are white, like you can obviously paint on it, and then you could use gouache on top of that, which is more of an opaque medium to watercolor, or you can use acrylic, or you can use ink, white ink, acrylic, and you could get those highlights. So there's nothing wrong in using mixed media or exploring different options of what you can do as an artist. The fifth tip I would like to give is on originality and uniqueness. Be original and be unique. Stand out from the crowd. You know, as an artist, there's so much possibilities and so much things you can do that literally it's limitless. And if there's an artist that's constantly doing one thing over and over and over, and it's the same thing as hundreds or thousands of artists out there, how are you going to get recognized? Why are you special from those other people? What makes you special and what makes you stand out from the crowd in your pieces? Is it because all of your pieces are a certain caliber, all of your pieces are a certain aesthetic, a certain style, a certain theme? Is it all urban sketches? Is it all landscapes? Is it all sculptures of famous people's heads? I don't know, I'm just saying, but what makes you unique and what makes you original? And how would you stand out to get recognized? And how would people see, okay, this is so great, this is unlike any other person, let me buy all of their work, you know? Tip number 6, supportive criticism. Right. You would obviously want people to critique your work, and you would want to know how others view your work, right? Some artists are really cocky and they're like, okay, I'm like literally the best. I have this and this masters and this certification as an artist. You can't tell me what to do. Cut all of that BS out of your brain right now. Obviously, you won't take critiques from every single person, and you won't listen to every single person that likes or dislikes your work. If someone says, oh my gosh, this green should be blue, And you know in your head that what is he talking about? Is he actually insane? You know, obviously take some criticisms lightly, but get outside opinions of your work. So definitely get an outside opinion, and even if it's just your close friends, obviously you don't have to go to a random stranger and be like, oh hey, can you just tell me how my work is? Could you tell me if it's trash? Obviously not. Like, send your close friends, people who relate to you in the art world, people who do similar work to you, you know, like get that friendship, get that group of people who are willing to work alongside you and give you supportive criticism. So the 7th tip is learn from other artists. You have friends in the entire art community, especially people who do similar work to yours. You would want to learn from them. Obviously, don't copy exactly what they're doing and their exact style, but look at how they work and see how their style is and how you could tailor your style to improve yourself. So if you're struggling with some aspect of things that you are doing, let's say painting clouds, right, and you're doing weird brushstrokes and you don't know exactly how to do it, look at other artists to see how they're doing their clouds. Maybe they might post a tutorial or not, and yeah, you can see how different techniques of doing it and see which style suits you best and suits your art best. And obviously it doesn't have to be from current artists, it could be from old masters as well. So if you're doing things like anatomy and stuff, you would want to like study the different things that the artists did back then, like Michelangelo and Leonardo da Vinci and all these different people. Or if you're doing like Impressionism, you'll want to watch Van Gogh and see how he used his colors in his art to create textures and to create a landscape that's magnificent, mind-blowing. Tip number 8. Yeah, that's 8. Tip number 8 is researching and doing preliminary studies. Preliminary research meaning studies you do before you actually start the piece. So you'd Google, you'd Pinterest, you'd Instagram, you'd YouTube different things, and you can compile a list, or you could even go on Pinterest and make a little board, little mood board or little artist board of like different styles and whatnot of how you're going to do this current piece. And you could do little sketches as well before you start the piece. You could try color mixing and see how exactly the right colors you want for this landscape, or for, let's say you're doing a human face. A human face, if you're doing a human face, you could color mix to see if you could get the right skin tones and stuff before you actually start, so that you know when you start you don't have to be sitting down and be like, yellow ochre, permanent rose, crimson, these aren't working, okay, let's try a little red, okay, no, let's try some white, no, let's try some lemon yellow. That's tip number 8. Do preliminary research before you start any piece, because it's quite helpful. So tip number 9 is producing content or producing work. You want to feel more like an artist. You want to be an artist. Doesn't matter if you're a full-time artist, part-time artist, like me, who is literally studying something completely different from art and trying to do art at the side, which is still a struggle for me currently. But in order to fulfill that goal, you have to produce content regularly. Like, you have to be consistent in your work, whether it be once a week, once every 2 weeks. You stick to that goal according to your schedule, according to your time. If you're a full-time artist, obviously it'll be more frequently. So overall, be consistent and do as much work as possible to build on your skills and to build on your content and where you want to be as an artist. Tip number 10, taking photographs. So this part plays a huge role in every artist who is trying to get their art out there and who is trying to sell, and basically who is trying to show their work off. you need top-notch, top-of-the-line state, country, region photographs. So you don't even have to get a huge camera. You don't have to get iPhone 11, 12. You don't have to get... You just have to make sure that the photograph that you are uploading to your social media, to your Etsy, to whatever it is you are showing your art on, Pinterest even, that picture correctly represents the original piece. Meaning color balance, whiteness, saturation, size, you know, literally all these things have to be obviously not 100% on point, but as close as possible to the actual image. Make sure that your quality is clean. You can't be having blurry shots on your pictures and people are like trying to squint to be like, okay, is that a mountain or is that a cloud? Like, no, can't have people like that. So you have to take your photographs, would be recommended to take it in natural light. That's how the light reflects when you look at it from your actual eyes instead of like artificial light. Firstly, you could take that picture. It may not be the best afterwards, and you could always take that picture and put it into Photoshop, Lightroom, Snapseed, whatever you use, to make it look better. Not better as in better than the original, but better as in closer quality to what the original is. So those are my top 10 tips on being an artist and how you can improve on your skills and be a much better artist in this current world that we're in. And yeah, I hope you really enjoyed this, and leave some comments below. Tell me what you think. If there's any other tips that you would recommend, drop them in the comments below and maybe I can make another video, compile all your tips, make another video. Don't forget to like and subscribe and follow me on literally everything. And I hope you liked the piece that I added with this talk as well, this video. So yeah, bye.